All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Loser. I hope you're doing well. So, folks, today we're going to talk about old Carlee Russell and another hoax that failed horribly. I'm a sucker for these failed abduction hoaxes because in order to pull the whole thing off and achieve that sweet celebrity victim lifestyle, oh, can you imagine? I'll probably get to go on the Today Show. That's right, Hoda. I was literally fighting for my life. Please follow me on Twitter, not to mention the outpouring of love and attention from friends and family. I'm going to get so many texts. Not to mention if your boyfriend recently possibly cheated on you with some pitiful hoe stripper, it'll make him realize how much he loves me and what life would be like without me and make him regret even laying eyes on that pitiful stripper. But in order to achieve all of that, standing in between the hoaxer and the celebrity victim lifestyle they crave is a detective with an audio recorder going, all right, click, what happened? And you better make sure the story is believable and realistic, which it never is. You better make sure it can stand up the forensic investigation, which they never can. Essentially, it's high-stakes fiction writing. The hoaxer has to come up with a believable fictional abduction story with their life and reputation and freedom on the line, and not just any abduction story, their abduction story. This is going to be the story that they have to tell, and it's going to be attached to them for the rest of their life. So they have a lot of big decisions to make. In the weeks leading up to it, you have to sit back and think, what type of victim am I? Decisions. There's a lot of directions to go, and because of the bizarre circumstances these stories are written in, they are always comedy gold, every time. And Carlee's is probably the worst of all of them. I think you can tell that Carlee was very naive to the level of investigation that was going to happen once she got back. I think she thought she was going to say to detectives, and the next thing I remember, and I don't remember anything else, and then I was back at my parents, and they were going to go, okay, we're so glad you're back, see you later, and not look into things, because Carlee Russell didn't get away with any of it. Not one little part. Every single aspect of her story was immediately proven wrong. She came nowhere close. But we're going to go over the fictional abduction story that Carlee came up with. Like all of them, it's hilarious, and here we go. I'm going to start a month before, actually, and just go over some things that Carlee tweeted, because I think you can see where she was at headspace-wise, and probably why she tried to pull off this incredibly stupid fake abduction. So a month before the abduction, she tweeted, quote, "Dudes will risk everything for a hoe, stripper, etc. Pitiful," end quote. Then the next day, again, she was tweeting about relationship issues. So it would appear her and her boyfriend were going through some issues, maybe some infidelity about a month before. Then on the 19th of June, she tweets about being nervous for a surgery the next day, nervous about anesthesia, very common. So it looks like she had a minor surgery in the back half of June, which makes sense. She didn't tweet much in late June. And then according to the Daily Mail, all the pictures are deleted from both of their accounts, but apparently her and her boyfriend came to New York City for the 4th of July for a little vacation. So let's talk about that for a second. So if on the 17th of June, she's talking about dudes will risk anything for a hoe, stripper, etc., pitiful, and talking about a relationship being in the toilet, it would seem like relationship issues. I was thinking maybe during the recovery for the surgery, during that recovery time and energy, it's a unique time. Maybe the boyfriend reached out and said, I know I screwed up, but I just wanted, how you doing? I'm hoping you're all right with the surgery, and I just wanted to reach out and just, I'm here if you need something. So maybe during that recovery process, all right, I love you. And then they thought, you know what? Let's go to New York City for the 4th of July. We'll rekindle the romance, and we'll come back to Alabama, rejuvenated as a couple, feeling good. Well, it doesn't seem like that, because when she gets back and starts tweeting again, July 8th, she tweets, "My job is really starting to get on my dang nerves." And also that same day, quote, "Everyone wants to feel wanted," end quote. Also during this time, not necessarily relevant, but just kind of seeing who she is, she tweeted, quote, "I hate when people don't answer my phone calls," end quote, and quote, "I can't stand a boring ass person," end quote, and quote, "I want a Tiffany necklace for my birthday," end quote, and quote, "You think you have a bond with someone until they show you you never did." All right. So she tweets that she hates her job on the 8th and that everyone wants to feel wanted. And then on July 10th, so now we're 3 days from the incredibly bad idea of trying to pull off the fake abduction. 3 days before, she tweets, quote, "I always say one thing I won't do is stay with someone who cheated on me. Like, you went off and had sex with someone else and you think it'll be sweet one day? Hell no." So again, it looks like maybe the trip to New York to rekindle the romance maybe didn't work. And then the 12th, one day before she tried to pull off the abduction, she tweeted, "People are such creeps. Like, this man stared at me while sitting in his car for like 10 minutes, end quote. And then on the day of the abduction, she tweets, "Yeah, I want a family now," crying emoji, and quote, "Today was a great day. God is looking out. I'm telling you." All right, so we get to the fateful day, July 13th. She leaves work around 8:30 at night and she goes and picks up food at Tzatziki's. That food, it appears like she was never planning on eating it, and the purpose of getting the Tzatziki's food was to leave it in her car, so when authorities found her car, they would say, "She left her dinner. She must have been abducted. She bought the dinner and then didn't eat it. She didn't take it anywhere. That must mean she was taken or something." But so she left the Tzatziki's. That was one of the, when she's working on her story, you could see, how do I make it seem like I didn't want to leave my car, but I was abducted? What if I got food at Tzatziki's and left it in the car? Oh, that's good. That's good. And she's starring it. That's a good idea. But anyway, she goes to Tzatziki's and then she goes to Target and buys some granola bars and cheese crackers. And then after she buys those, she just sits in the Target parking lot, killing a little bit of time. That day, she also Googled the movie Taken, which I thought was kind of funny. She probably thought her fake abduction was going to be exciting and gritty and thrilling, like the movie Taken. And then it cuts to reality, just sitting in the Target parking lot. This isn't as thrilling as I was hoping it to be. I'm just sitting in Target's parking lot, okay? And then she also Googled that day, the 13th, the age limit to an Amber Alert and if you have to pay for an Amber Alert. So I think she was fantasizing, what if I got an Amber Alert and everybody I know and love, including my boyfriend, got a text, "Carlee Russell is missing," and everybody's thinking about me at the same time and they get that message. Oh, wouldn't that be great? But that also shows Carlee wanted this to be big. She wanted it to be a big news story. She wanted everybody to get a message, kicking the whole thing off and getting the game started and stuff like that. If she tries to, now that she is charged, if they try to say it was just like a mental health thing, she had mania and went off and tried to pull that, stuff like that shows no, this was highly planned and strategically crafted to try to look real. It goes off the rails horribly at the end, but she really did a lot of work at the beginning. So we have Carlee Russell sitting in the parking lot of Target with her tzatziki she's not going to eat and her granola bars, and she's Googled Taken and she's Googled the details for Amber Alert, and she sits in the parking lot. And then once it gets dark around 9:30, she drives out to the highway. And this is, I wonder what was going through old Carlee's head at this point, because after she calls 911, that's the point of no return, right? The story she came up with was that She's driving down the highway and she sees a baby on the shoulder. Oh my gosh. And she pulls over and she calls 911. So in the parts in the story that have to check out, like, okay, I'm writing the story, the main character, who is me, calls 911, you actually have to call 911. So once that call is made, there's no turning back. So she pulls to the shoulder of the road. Obviously, there's no real baby there, and she calls 911. The whole thing was on camera, so they have her pulled over to the shoulder of the road and slowly moving. They also have the data on her phone of her slowly moving. So she pretends, I pulled over and I'm stopped and there's a baby there. But I think it kind of feels awkward to just pull over to the side of the highway and stop. So she pulled over and then was kind of creeping along. But they know in the time she was talking to the 911 operator, she traveled 1,800 feet. And so she's talking to the 911 operator, and her 911 call to me sounds like if she planned to put on a show and act stressed out and act like she had the realistic fear of, oh my gosh, I drove on the highway and there's a baby. You got to send someone out. I'll stay with the baby, but you got to send someone out. There would be urgency of, oh my God, a baby is out here. But she didn't have any of that. She was a friendly, I think when she was finally on the phone with an adult, no-nonsense 911 operator going, all right, where are you? What highway? What direction are you going? The ability to put on a show and do an acting job went out the window, and she diverted back to just friendly. She's going, yeah, the baby's right here. I see it. And the 911 operator's going, well, have you checked on it yet? And she goes, no, I haven't checked on it yet. And the 911 operator's going, all right, well, we'll send someone out. So then she gets off the phone with the 911 operator and she calls her parents and she tells them the story. I'm out on the highway and there is a baby and I'm going to check on it. And her parents probably are going, what? Are you okay? What's going on? And then she sets her phone down, screams so her parents hear it, and then purposely leaves her phone again, just like the tzatziki, so they can go, oh my gosh, here's her phone. This is bad. But imagine doing that to your poor parents. Imagine doing that to your mom. Yeah, it just scared the crap out of my mom. I screamed out, and so she could hear it, and then threw my phone and kind of just disappeared. Things are really going well for me. But let's get back to her story. So she goes 1,800 feet while she's saying, yeah, I'm looking at this baby. But that would mean the baby would be scampering and scurrying down the highway at a horrifying speed like some insect. A nightmarish, insectile highway baby. Oh my gosh, this story is getting good. So she comes up with the highway baby story, scares the crap out of her parents, and then she tells detectives that she gets out to finally check on the nightmarish highway baby. And at that point, a huge man with orange hair, it's incredible, pops out of the woods and mumbles that he's there to check on the baby. I don't know if it's naturally orange hair or a hastily done home bathroom dye job. That would probably be more scary, right? So giant man with orange hair pops out of the woods mumbling, yeah, I'm going to check on the baby. What? I'm here to check on the baby. What? Why are you mumbling? But the mumbling was just a diversion. And then she says the story is that then the giant man with orange hair that was mumbling grabs her. She screams. I think that's the scream that she was trying to make her parents hear, so they kick everything off. Because that's the thing. You really got to kick off your hoax. So everything starts rolling. You don't want to leave and go stay at some motel and 2 days go by and no one even knows. It's like, damn it. And you just have to head back into society and your life. So you got to do something at the beginning to get the whole ball rolling, have everybody realize what's going on and get things happening, because you don't want to waste time. It's not fun to wait out these hoaxes. It's just, I think, probably really boring, and you're not eating good food. And so she wanted not only the 911 people to come out and see her car on the side of the road and the tzatziki's in her phone, but she wanted her parents to know what was happening, to get the whole thing as big, news story, national as possible. Okay, so I would say this is when Carlee's story really goes off the rails and falls apart. The baby on the highway, all right, the giant man with orange hair that mumbles, okay, and then now it starts to get really bad. She said that he forced her over a fence. Doesn't say anything that he grabbed the baby, but the baby does end up later in the story. So it would have to be that the guy, the giant man with orange hair that mumbles, grabs the nightmarish insectile highway baby and then forces Carlee over a fence. I don't know what that looked like. Go over the fence. Or if he kind of like pushed her over and she flopped over and fell on the other side, or I don't know. But anyway, he forced her over a fence and then into a car. And then the next thing she remembers, she was in the trailer of an 18-wheeler. So imagine being the detective and you're sitting there and you're listening to this and you don't know if she's a victim or if she tried to pull off this hoax yet. And then it gets to the part where she goes, I'm into the car, and the next thing I remember, I was in the trailer of an 18-wheeler. It was like, what do you mean you don't remember? Did they hit you over the head? Because if you're having a big memory lapse like that, they may have hit you over the head, and then in that case, we should do a CAT scan and make sure your brain's okay. Or do you think they drugged you? Do you remember getting chloroformed, or did you wake up sluggish? Because if that's the case, we should probably do blood tests and stuff, because chloroform can ruin your liver and your kidneys and stuff like that. We should look into why, why you have that big memory lapse. But think of Carlee Russell sitting there going, yeah, no, I feel good. I don't have a headache or anything. But anyway, so the next thing she remembers, she goes from the car to the trailer of an 18-wheeler. She said she can hear a female, but not see her. And she can also hear the baby crying. And at that point, Carlee Russell bravely and heroically, somehow, she doesn't specify, escapes from the 18-wheeler. Look at that. She's maybe getting away. She's fleeing on foot. But sadly, they recapture her and put her back in the car. So here, what do we have? The characters that she has invented for her story is she's the main character, and then we have a giant man that mumbles with orange hair, his female partner, and a baby that can move nightmarishly fast on the highway. Okay, so now she's in the car, and then she said they bring her to a house. They said after they caught her from fleeing on foot from the 18-wheeler and put her in the car, she said that they blindfolded her, but they didn't tie her wrist because they didn't want to leave impressions on her wrist. I think she thought that was going to be a big detail that was going to make everyone go, all right, yeah, this sounds real. But anyway, they blindfolded her. No, they didn't tie her up, didn't want to leave the old impression. So then they bring her to a house. She said that they made her get undressed. She thinks they took pictures of her, but when asked if she was sexually assaulted, she said she doesn't remember any contact or sexual contact. And again, this is just not realistic. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. If you were sexually assaulted by a giant man with orange hair, you would remember it. Every long second of it would be seared into your memory. But I think probably she gets back and you're talking to nurses and detectives, and it's kind of awkward to sit there and make up a graphic sexual assault. Even if she thought beforehand, all right, I'm going to tell them that they did this to me and that to me, and you got to pull off an acting job. Someone that's telling a doctor or a nurse or somebody about that is going to be reacting in a realistic way and describing some real graphic stuff. And I feel like Carlee got back and was like, I don't want to go into all of that with people recording and staring at me. And so she just goes, I don't remember, which just makes the story that much worse than a lot of them. Like even Sherry Panini's, hers was bad, but She knew the meticulous investigation that was going to happen when she got back. And that's why Sherry crams the back half of her fake abduction story with all these details, trying to drown the detectives in details that they can't ever check. Carlee's the opposite. The beginning is filled with details, and the end, it just totally falls apart and doesn't have enough details. And the one thing I thought about you guys about a month or two ago, remember how Sherry Panini's fake abduction story started with that she was forced into a black SUV by two Hispanic women, and then they drove off blasting mariachi music, and Sherry took a nap. About a month or two ago, I went to a party at a woman's house my wife works with, and everybody's sitting in the backyard, having a good time, eating some food, nothing too crazy, and then all of a sudden, the gate to the backyard swings open, and a professional four-piece mariachi band comes in, instantly breaks out into song with the energy of someone performing at Madison Square Garden. They play 2 or 3, 4 songs, and then that was it. And I saw the woman that was throwing the party handing them a handful of cash out in the alley, but I got their card. I had no idea. At any time or moment, you can have a mariachi band show up, rip out a couple songs, and then leave. That's amazing. I'm going to do that all the time. Think about just a normal life situation, then all of a sudden it's this.
Mañana, mira que amaneció. ¡Viva los cumpleañeros y las madres dominicanas! Quisiera ser solicito.
Isn't that incredible? I can't wait to use it. But anyway, getting back to this story. So she says that she can't remember if the giant man with orange hair sexually assaults her. And then she said the next morning she woke up, didn't say how she slept or what that looked like. Again, just not realistic. She wakes up the next morning. The woman that she just heard up until then but didn't see fed her crackers, cheese crackers. That's what she bought at Target, if you remember. Fed her cheese crackers and played with her hair. It's a weird choice. You can pick anything in the whole world for your fake abduction story. And she picked that she had her hair played with, and then they put her back in the vehicle. And then somehow, again, she bravely and heroically escaped from the vehicle, ran through, quote, a lot of woods. It's like, come on, Carlee, no one's going to believe this. For the second time, she escaped and is just running through the woods. I'm running through the woods. Luckily, she escaped pretty close to her parents' house, and a short 48 hours after the whole thing started, she shows up at her parents' door. Oh my gosh, mommy and daddy are definitely gonna believe I don't remember. The next thing I remember is I don't remember. But a detective got there right before she went and got checked out by the medical staff, and that's when she told him this story. So just think, she gets back. I'm sure her parents are so happy to see her. I'm sure she's thinking, all right, did I pull it off? Everybody's happy to see me. Seems like it's going good. And then the pesky detective is there like, hi, Carlee, we just wanted to talk to you real quick. You got to tell us, so what happened? And I think by how bad the story gets at the end, I think she was literally improvising, which is an unimaginable spot to be in life, to try to pull off the fake abduction. And then when you're telling the story by the end, and then I went to the vehicle, but then I escaped. And then the next thing I remember, I was in the truck, but then I escaped. I ran through a lot of woods, and I'm back. And unfortunately for Carlee, they didn't believe any of it. They immediately figured out that she traveled a very long way, much longer than any baby could travel, so that was not true. And they got her Google history, which was incredibly suspicious, and the whole thing started really rolling downhill from there for Carlee. A couple days after that, she admitted, I'm sure she got a lawyer, and the lawyer was just like, no, we got to just stop the bleeding right now, admit that it was a hoax. And then a couple days after she admitted that the whole thing was a hoax, they charged her with 2 misdemeanors. So it's going to be interesting what they try to do with the defense. Are they going to say it was a mental health thing and she just did something stupid? Or is she going to take full responsibility? It was dumb. She's embarrassed. The whole family is shocked that she tried to pull something like that. They're all going to band together as a family and try to move forward, and she's going to take responsibility for what she did. That would be the best way to get on the other side of this and have the next chapter of her life start, where you're not known as the pathetic hoax trier that just failed miserably. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the defense tries to minimize the damage. I really do think that it would be best to not even try to minimize it. Just take full responsibility, plead guilty, 2 misdemeanors. All right, you can get on the other side of it and she's still young. She's 25 years old. If she did anything right, it was quickly stop the bleeding and not drag it out, keep lying, keep the story in the news for 5 years while they're putting an investigation together. But what a crazy story. I'm going to cut it off there. I love you all. See you next time. Why? Stavin' why? Shamita.